You got to have fun. It's got to be competitive, and you got to have confidence.
May I have your attention, please?
You're my leader.
Now listen to
Clear the mechanism.
The Robby Rose Show.
The Robby Rose Show.
Yo, what up? Sorry, that was my text. What's going on? It's your boy, Robby Rowland, host of the Robby Rose Show, episode 46. Today I have on a gentleman that goes by the name of Ryan Fuller. If you don't know anything about Ryan or what he's about or why he's even relevant, go on your Instagram app right now. Go to the search bar, type in Fuller Hitting, Fullerhitting. You'll see honestly, like in my opinion, one of the best hitting accounts on Instagram, I would say. I mean, he's not only putting up videos of drills that he uses with his athletes, but he's also putting up videos of big league guys and their swing. And I can't stress enough, man, like you can always recognize real guys on Instagram. And this is a little hack, not a hack, but like a tip for you younger athletes is always flock towards the accounts that are taking the time to write a caption that is meaningful and there's a why behind the actual post. And Ryan is the living embodiment of that. Like you go to every one of his posts, and you'll see in the captions and freaking read those guys. Like that's where the juicy details are, honestly. And I mean, I just can't stress enough how important that is and how good of a job Ryan does. So I got a great podcast for you guys lined up today. We go for about, I want to say like 50 minutes. And I apologize. I'm like out of breath. I don't even remember if I ran up the stairs or if I just walked up the stairs, but man, I'm in Colorado. It must be the high altitude. So no, I'm not out of shape. It's all odds are against me. Yikes. Sorry, off track. Okay, so we talk just a little brief explanation of what the show is going to be about. Obviously, we can't talk about a hitting side of a podcast without talking about data analytics. Stuff is like hit tracks, Rapsodo, blast motion, the K-Vest, all of that stuff that we talk about in the show will be linked in the show notes for you to go check out a website and just to get a painted picture of what Ryan and I are actually talking about within the show. We talk about being a student of the game and really understanding like the why behind it. Obviously, that's no secret within what I like to talk about during my shows is always having a reason behind doing things that you do, and yeah, man, we talk, again, it's 2018, so we can't really talk about hitting without talking about the high power demands, the high home run numbers, the stronger, bigger, faster athletes, and kind of what is bringing about that. So awesome show lined up for you guys. I'm excited for you guys to take a listen in on this. And do me a favor, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're coming in from maybe Ryan's page and you're new to the show, go ahead and hit the subscribe. Just throw out a review. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, so I can get better at doing what I do. What else is there? Like I said, my name's Robby. You can follow me on Instagram at RobbyRow_12. No, that's a lie, guys. That's my Twitter. Frick, I always do that. Underscore just sounds so cool to say out loud. My Instagram is RobbyRow12, so that's ROBBYROW12. Got some great stuff coming out for you guys. I'm trying to do about 2 to 3 posts a day, which is tough, but it's I'm not playing right now. I'm coming back from an injury, so I got some time. All right, so be on the lookout for some more collaborations between Ryan and I in the near future because I absolutely love what he does on his page. I love his character, just an awesome dude, and I can't recommend for the hitters out there, youth, collegiate, like it doesn't matter who you are, like flock towards the individuals like Ryan who just do an absolute great job of pumping out quality content. And understanding, the why behind doing that. So appreciate Ryan's time. Is there anything else? I feel like I checked all the boxes, right? Yeah. So like I said, everything we talk about, all the data analytics stuff is all linked in the show notes. So if you're interested, go ahead and go over the show notes. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and I'm trying to get Spotify right now, but it's a grind. But anyways, without further ado, I apologize for talking. I get excited. But yeah, here's Ryan. Again, his Instagram, Fuller Hitting, FULLERHITTING. Go ahead and check that out. Awesome account. And hope you guys enjoy the show. Appreciate y'all. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The Robby Rowe Show. It's your host, Robby Rowland. Episode 46. My guest today, his name's Ryan Fuller. Ryan, welcome to the show, dude. How we doing on this Black Friday?
Doing great on Black Friday. Thank you so much for having on. I've been listening for a while now, so it's great to be with you.
Yeah, dude. That means a lot. I appreciate you starting the show out on a positive note.
Definitely.
So like we kind of talked about a little off the air, man, is I like to kind of start the show, and I will say to my previous guests, I apologize for putting you on the spot. I'm not going to do that to Ryan today. So give me a baseball player, Ryan, with that comes to mind when you think of 46, which is our episode today.
46, we'll go with two lefty pitchers, Patrick Corbin from the D-backs, and then a little Andy Pettit from the Yankees. But no hitters, but we'll give the pitchers some love today.
So we're going to be doing a lot of that, by the way, giving pitchers love. I think that's going to be the title of the episode.
There we go. Perfect hitting guy.
So we couldn't come up with one hitter for 46.
That's a tough one.
That is tough. Maybe that's like the perfect. It all just worked out perfectly for us though today.
Yeah, exactly. Blending the pitching and hitting worlds.
I love it, man. So, dude, like it's cool. Like I love doing these episodes where I don't quite know the ins and outs of the guests that I have on, man. So if you want, you can be as brief as you want with this, but give yourself an introduction, man. Like obviously going to your Instagram page, you run a great account. Seeing former D1 coach, D-backs player, like what kind of got you to where you are now?
Sure, yeah. So I'm a small town guy from Connecticut, really undersized guy. Didn't really hit the peak of my baseball career until I was in junior college. So played 2 years at a small junior college in Connecticut, UConn Avery Point. Had a really good sophomore year, which catapulted me into the schools that I really didn't have a shot of playing at a high school. So I went on to UConn, and they were kind of in their best days right there. I played with George Springer, Nick Ahmed, Matt Barnes on the Red Sox. So I kind of just walked into a really good time at UConn. Had 2 really good years there. We made it to a super regional, obviously all those guys being really high draft picks. Got some eyes on me. I got signed as a senior, signed by the Diamondbacks. I played 1 year with them. And then after that, I kind of knew I wasn't going to go too far. And I always wanted to be a coach. So I coached at Quinnipiac University for a year, learned that Division I coaches, unless you're the head guy down south, you're not going to have a ton of money. Mm-hmm. So after that, I took a little hiatus from the game in terms of playing and coaching. I still did instruction on the side, hitting. I was a financial advisor for a year, and then went back to get my master's degree in education. I've been a high school English teacher for the past 4 years, and really for the past 8 years now, I've been a hitting instructor. But pretty much the last few years is when it's kind of ramped up. But I mean, I love hitting. That's my thing. When I go to sleep at night, that's what I'm thinking about. And just, I mean, with the explosion of social media too, it's been on my mind all the time, and being able to learn from guys on there at Driveline. I mean, the best minds when it comes to hitting too. It's been on my mind even more. And then kind of just, I think Coach Johansson said it on here on your podcast before, trying to be the coach you wish you always had, and just giving everybody good information out there is really what I'm about now. And I think with social media, it's so cool because doing a conversation with a guy from Hawaii and then one guy from South Korea, I'm reaching guys that I never thought I'd be able to if I were just doing, hitting lessons out in Connecticut. So it's been a really, really cool experience with it.
Yeah, dude, I think, and that's what I tell everyone, dude, is like, there's dangers to social media, but at the same time, like, we wouldn't have this conversation, right? Like, exactly. I probably wouldn't have this dang podcast, dude. It's so cool, and it could be utilized as such a tool, just networking. And I'm sure you're in the same boat as me. Like, you're learning so much just from like networking with other people than you probably did even at high levels of professional baseball, right?
Definitely. And I mean, when I was at UConn too, and then with the Diamondbacks, I was kind of just like, these guys have made it this far. I'm going to listen to whatever they say. And it wasn't so much of, is this right? Why are they telling me to do that? And I think for the kids now, they can go on a page, and the good guys, hopefully they're telling the why behind each drill or why they're making a swing adjustment, where when I played, it was kind of just you take what you were given, and that's the way that it's been going, and you really didn't even question it. So I think with social media too, it's just such a tool, but then it's obviously finding what is the good information out there versus what is the bad. And I think you got to kind of do that after a while, but there's a lot of good people out there, and it's definitely a tool for kids.
Oh, dude, that's so funny, man. And it's like the realest people that come on the show, like they do such a good job in explaining that. And what I mean by that is literally the why, and yes. I think you hit it on the freaking head, dude. Is like, I was kind of, when I first came up too, I got drafted in 10. And it was kind of that same mantra where it was like, yo, you just did this and you just did it. And you didn't really ask questions because you just did it. And the individual that was giving you the information was like, oh, he did this in his career, so it's right. Now I'm just going to stick to this. And you kind of got stuck in that pattern of just doing things, not understanding like, hey, does this fit for me? Like, is this my style? Like, who am I now? And you kind of lose that identity, dude. So, give some advice, man, for some kids that are not necessarily struggling, but the kids like, for my listeners of the show that really want to seek out that quality information. And you can speak just to hitters. That's totally cool. That are going on Instagram or going through podcasts and they're seeing like a lot of smart guys. Like what do they need to look for to determine if it's like a really good fit for them?
And I think it's going to be for me too, what I look for. So I'm the same as a high school kid. When I go on there, I'm still looking for the same accounts that are going to be valuable to me and give me new information. I just like the guys who are, real. They're saying, I'm learning with you. The more I learn on here, the more I realize I really don't know. But we're finding out now that through, the KVS biomechanics, there is a way to move in an efficient manner, just like all rotational athletes, hockey players, pitchers, hitters. As long as you're moving in sequence, the kinematic sequencing, those guys who are teaching that kind of stuff, the way the body actually moves with data and science behind it, are the guys who I know are forward thinking, because it's really easy to pick out a few drills, say, this is helping you with hand speed, wrist speed, kind of all the things that I think really don't matter in the grand scheme of things, versus guys who are leaning on data and being held accountable. And I love the guys who are on there explaining the why. Like you said, I know that if I had the coaches when I played, just if I simply asked in a nice, respectful manner, not in a getting them a defensive way, just, what's the point of this drill? What is this actually going to help me with? And I think guys who are open to answering the whys, and I try and do that with the captions when I put a video, rather than putting an obscure, weird drill on there and just kind of like, hey, take it for what it's worth, give it a try. I try and explain, we're working hip hinge here or getting to our back hip. This is where you should be feeling it, to kind of give them a direction to figure it out on their own. And I think the guys who give direction, give the explanation of the why, and then let guys figure it out from there. I mean, those are real teachers and educators of whatever sport it is. And those are the guys that I seek out.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And that's like the first thing that you see about your page, man. And for those of you listening that don't follow Ryan, you can check him out at Floor Hitting on Instagram. You do a great job. But like the first thing you see, man, and I'm just going to like one of your recent posts, dude, and it's homeboy's got a connection ball, obviously the tee set up at an angle, his front foot's, a little bit open. You got a screen in front of him that's pretty much giving him a direction that he wants to, set a goal for. And then you go to your captions, dude, and it's 1, 2, 3. Like, this is what we got. And for the kids, man, it's like, this is it. This is what you're looking for. You're looking for, a post or something that freaking breaks it down. And it kills me when I'll do like the same thing. I'll make like a what, why, why do I use it? Can it be effective type thing? And it goes on for, I mean, you know how it is, dude. When you write these, you get passionate about it, and you're going on for a little bit of time, and you know it's a pretty chunky message there, but it's all good stuff. And then kids check out like after the second line, you know, and then they come back to your DMs a little bit later, and they're like, "Yo, what do you think about this?" And it's like, "Well, I just made a post on it."
Exactly.
But
read the post.
Yeah, I mean that's my big takeaway from this, man. Is like, yeah, the video is great, and the video is probably going to get the people that come onto your page and they get the views. Man, this guy's got a good swing. I'm checking his swing out right now. But it's the caption that's going to explain your why, you know, and how much. I mean, shoot, dude, how much time do you spend like doing these posts? I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into this. I know there is.
Yeah, I mean, I do a pretty good job of getting a lot of video during the sessions, the hitting sessions. And then I'll go back through, and if there's something that really stands out to me, because, you know, I don't want to be talking about the same exact thing over and over again, kind of give a different look or a different feel on there. But like that one is perfect because a lot of guys need to feel how it is to turn rather than just use their hands, cast out, and then you have the screen in front. And a guy who sees those videos, the first thing they're going to say is, "Oh, that's stupid. I've never seen someone do that before." Mm-hmm. You gotta give them the reason why you're doing it, or else it's going to be, you know, all the dads on there, "This is stupid, make hitting easy." And it's like, dude, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. If you would just follow along the reasoning with it too. And I mean, going back to, I'm a high school English teacher too. Mm-hmm. And obviously I see the kids, they don't want to spend a ton of time reading. But if you make that an investment, and it's just like guys who come in, they all say they want to play college baseball. They all say they want to play Major League Baseball. But 1% maybe is actually willing to put in the time and the work needed. And it's not so much just, hey, here's 500 swings off the tee every day and you're going to make it. It's reading those captions that guys like Driveline, guys on there who are really, really good, explaining out the information that you're really seeking, but you're going to have to do a little bit of the digging too.
Yeah, man, and I say it over and over again on the show, dude. It's like it's 2018. Like, you got to do a lot of things nowadays to be good at your sport. And yes. I don't want to be the guy that says athletes are just getting bigger, faster, stronger. But I just think there's more tools to utilize now, which, you know, attributes to just more skill. And that couldn't be more relevant in hitting. You know, with just data. Understanding the biomechanics, understanding the swing. Like, yep. I mean, there's all this stuff now that we can utilize to better ourselves. So, I mean, if you're an aspiring freaking big league ball player, like there's a lot of things you got to do within your daily routine that's checking those boxes of, yo, did I get better today? You know, I mean, right. it's the same. It's the same for pitching. But you know, now that we're on the topic of data stuff, let's go ahead and dive into it. Are you a proponent of using all those, you know, the blast, the hit tracks? Are you dabbling with any of that right now?
Oh, yeah. So the cage that I work at, it's called The Pit in Niantic, Connecticut. We have Diamond Kinetics, blast motion sensors. We use those. We have hit tracks. So I think we're one of the only facilities really in New England that has that too. And I mean, that's a game changer. We have, you know, not so much the technology, but a hack attack machine where we could put any spin we want on the ball. So really challenging guys. And then, I mean, it's just a really forward-thinking facility. We all are on the same page with how the swing works and being held accountable, not only the kids, but us as instructors, too. I mean, it's obviously when kids come in, we want them to have success in the games. But when you come to the cage, it's not so much a game, but what can hold us accountable, the numbers, how hard you're hitting it, how far you're hitting it, are you making progress? So, I mean, it's just... we try and make it so complicated, but if you're running the 60-yard dash and that's your goal to get faster, you're going to have, you know, a clock, a stopwatch with you. You're not going to go out there and say, "Oh, well, I think I'm getting faster." It's going to be something objectable to show you, yeah, I'm getting faster. So, I mean, we just try and make it as easy as possible to show, hey, this drill, whatever feel we were working on, it's getting you to closer to where you want to be. So I think it's hard that we have to even debate if technology is useful today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a popular debate, but I will say, man, like I'll I'm such a big proponent on not guessing, right? And I think that's what gets kind of lost in translation as far as this debate of like, is data good? Like, oh, these guys back here, Griffey didn't need data and he was one of the best. And, you know, happy belated birthday, Griffey, by the way, if you're listening. and blah, 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 right? Old school, new school, whatever. But it boils down to a simple truth of like, look, like we don't need the hitting coach saying like, oh yeah, that's a good swing. Well, okay, now, you know, you're looking through it out of like human eyeballs, and there's only so much those can do. You know, I'll make the comparison to just the pitching side because that's kind of what I know is, you know, with uses of you know, like Rapsodo, right? Like you throw a pitch and it's not anymore the catcher just going, yeah, that slider was good. You know, it's like, okay, this slider was, you know, 2,400. Like, we have that data now, and now we can strive to improve that. And I think it goes hand in hand with hitting too. And it's, you know, it's like, what is the goal for hitting, right? Like in 2018, well, you got to hit with some pop. You got to probably get a decent launch angle. Now we can strive for those metrics with the data that we're given. But while we're still into the topic, dude, like, I don't know how to phrase this into a question, but I want to talk about it. Where do you stand as an instructor with younger kids when it comes to the whole launch angle thing? Now, I know, again, I'm trying to question this, but is it something to where you're striving for them to like grasp it and understand it without them totally like blowing it out of proportion and dropping the back shoulder and probably swinging and missing a lot? Or is there more to it, I guess?
Yeah, your question came through, and it's one that parents ask and kids because they hear it. And I mean, it's on TV now. Every time, you know, Aaron Judge hits a home run, it was 106 exit velocity, a 30 launch angle, and it went 405 feet, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But definitely when they're coming in, I want them to know what's happening and why it's happening. So when we have hit tracks, it shows on every swing the exit velocity, the launch angle, and the distance, and then the result of the hit up on the screen. So when they look up there and the exit velocity and the launch angle go green, well, why is it going green, which signifies a quality swing? So I'll use PVC pipes just to show the basics of getting on plane. Okay, the guy's on a mound, the PVC pipe will angle it down for like a fastball at -6 coming in, and hit tracks also shows that on the screen. Whenever I throw a pitch, whether it be a curveball at -15, they're going to see, okay, it's coming down on a negative line. It only makes sense for me to hit up on that on that positive line. And I mean, that's the basic Ted Williams science of hitting stuff that hopefully makes sense to people now. And then from there, I show just basic, you know, math really. A straight line down is 0. A straight line all the way up is a 90. And then, okay, a nice line drive for a kid who's not going to be putting the ball out of the park would be 10 to 15 degrees. That's a really nice line drive into the gap. So letting them know this is where you are. You weigh $120. You're not going to be hitting it over the fence. Let's aim for line drives into the gaps. Your launch angle, hopefully when we look back, your average launch angle will shoot for a 12. So there's definitely the background information and the why and having a goal. I'm so big on having a goal. If you're just going in there hoping to get better, well, what are you hoping to get better at? Mm-hmm. And when they look at on there, obviously we want to hit it harder. The game has not changed. The launch angle has been something that we can measure lately, but it's always been there. And coaches and fans always love the guys who hit the ball the hardest and the farthest. That hasn't changed at all. So it's always been there and people have been celebrating it. I just think people are ignorant to what launch angle actually is and don't want to spend the time to investigate it. So the easiest way to say something is not credible is just to say it's stupid and it's making the game harder, when to me it's just making it a lot easier and a lot more understandable.
Yeah, no doubt. On that topic, dude, like obviously, you know, the evolution of baseball, we're seeing guys hit balls farther, #non-steroid era, and we're seeing pitchers throw a lot harder. So on the topic of like high velocity on both sides of, from pitching to hitting, I want to go back to like one of the posts that you made. I think it was Yachty hitting, and it was it was talking about how those big league guys are just adaptable to those high velocity arms, nasty breaking balls. So what is it that, if you want to go into detail, like what do you see that those guys are doing as far as adjustment making as pitchers are starting to throw harder and harder?
Yeah, you got it. That's awesome. And this is something that every kid is going to complain about during the year. My timing's off. What can I do to improve my timing? And, well, what do we do when we practice? Most of the time we hit off a tee for the majority of our practice. And I think it was Jason Ochart a while ago. He said in tennis, a guy serving a $135 at you, you don't practice with the ball sitting on a tee. You're going to practice returning off of velocity. And it's the same thing in baseball. If you're not practicing hitting a 95 mile per hour fastball when you go to play, how are you ready for that? First of all, you're not going to be confident in your preparation too, and you just haven't seen it. So what I spend a ton of time with, and that's why Hit Tracks data, having that objective feedback on the end. And I know the guy he had on recently was awesome, explaining the average exit velocity, the data cage guy.
Yeah.
And that's it. He did a great job of showing it's not the exit velocity for one swing. It's that consistent average exit velocity too. So, and you can break it down between pitches at 50 miles to 60 miles per hour, 60 to 70. So you could see where the disconnection comes into play. But as far as the big league guys and where they are, I'm seeing every guy, when the pitcher is releasing the ball off his fingertips, they're at the top of their load. And then all they have to do is work forward, and usually their front heel goes down when the ball is about halfway to home plate. And obviously, guys are throwing 100. 100 is like the new 90 almost.
Oh, my gosh, it sucks.
Guys are being sent down when they're throwing 97, 98 now.
Right.
So it's like they have to adjust on the fly. And, I mean, it's pretty incredible that they can pick up a 94 mile per hour slider versus a 102 fastball in there. But if I'm starting earlier, I have that time to separate and get to my launch and hopefully be adjustable in my swing. And instead of, we'll have the hack attack machine set up on one side, I'll go on a mound, and then I'll just go one throw from maybe 60 feet, moving into 30 feet right away after, just to mess with their timing too. And they're going to see, okay, this is where I need to get started, or else it's going to be swing and misses or just jam shots all over.
Yeah, I think you said it earlier, man. Like, the game's the same, right? Like, the game is still making adjustments. Like, that is, if you can make adjustments on the fly, you are going to be successful at this game. Like, I don't care if you're a position player or a pitcher. Timing is going to be out of whack. Mechanics going to be out of whack. Something's going to be out of whack. The guy serving nachos is going to be too loud. Like, there's something that's going to go against you, whether you like it or not. And to be able to make an adjustment, whether it's physically or mentally, is going to separate you from the other, from your teammates, really. And that's kind of what we want to accomplish. Speaking of separating from teammates, dude, like, obviously I can't really go on the show without seeing a post of Mike Trout on your thing. And it's like, he's, so this could be controversial, because when we, at least for me, so when I used to frickin' rake, no doubt about it, it was always like first 3 rounds of BP, 4 rounds of BP or whatever, like, we're going the other way, right? We're leading with the knob. We're letting the ball travel, and we're going the other way, for timing or whatever you want to call it. But I think that can get kind of misinterpreted, right? Is because we kind of get in that Derek Jeter approach, where obviously he's a great hitter, but everything's inside out. So do you want to go into detail about what this post, what you're actually saying about, basically you're saying it's important to hit the ball to all fields, but don't be like super focused on going the other way.
Yeah, and I mean, this is from my experience too, just being in the cage, and I'm also a high school coach too, so I see it. I think the pendulum swung so far where in high school and in college, it's always been, keep the ball down, throw it away. With 2 strikes, it's going to be that 2-tap fastball off the plate. So if they're giving us that, let's work with it. But then when they do throw it inside, we're busted in. And I just go back to Little League. That's usually when guys are free, they're not thinking, they're having the most fun playing. Do they try and push a ball to right field? No, they're trying to hit a bomb to their pull side. They hit most of their balls to the pull side, and usually that's their hardest hit balls too. So especially when guys are playing at a higher level, high school varsity, you're playing in college, don't get stuck trying to shoot a ball to right field when it's a ball that you could pull and hit really, really hard. And I am all for hitting the ball to all fields. That's not the point of the post, which some people, you write that and they're going to jump on that. It's just don't be afraid to pull the ball, because Mike Trout, we see it all the time. It'll be a pitch low and away that you probably should get out on. He pulls it out of the park. And I get that people are going to say, well, that's Mike Trout. He's the best. Yeah, but he's free. He's playing that Little League game that we all wish we can continue to play, but we just make it harder. He sees the ball. His body adjusted maybe a little bit early. He's not going to try and fillet it into right field. He's going to hit it as hard as he can. If that's a pull, that's totally fine.
So what is it now? Now I'm curious, because I know like a kid's listening to this and he's probably thinking like, okay, I'm having an approach. This is my approach. This is what makes me me. But at what point does it come down to, like, say homeboy on the mound's 95 plus, and you can't, when we talk about reaction time, there's just not a lot that we can do. We kind of maybe have to have an approach as far as like maybe he's setting me up away or he's busting guys in. Where's that happy medium as far as like being a predictable pitcher to where if you're a hitter, you're kind of sitting on something that gives you an upper edge? Or is it just literally hands, trusting hands, reaction time, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally hitting. Obviously, we get so hung up on the mechanics a lot, but really it's being a student in the game. I mean, we talk about it for the high schoolers all the time. If you go in the dugout and you're just sitting there goofing off, you're missing an opportunity to see what a pitcher's doing. And especially in college, I remember Louisville, when we would play them, they would only throw fastballs away, sliders away, and then they would try and elevate you now and then. It was like they would almost never come inside.
Right.
So obviously for a team like that, you want to work away. And I think for the high school kids that I work with, usually there's a scoreboard in right center field. That's kind of like your home base. And then we think about it as a pie from there. That's our right center field cut of the pie. If we're thinking pull side, that would be that left center field gap. And that's just going to help us stay through it a little bit more. And a guy who's throwing really hard, just use the open field. Center field is a good place and have adjustments from there. But yeah, I mean, when a guy's throwing really, really hard, making adjustments physically, but also mentally trying to pick up anything you can that's tipping off what they're doing and trying to exploit that like any person in any competitive environment would do.
Oh man, that's good stuff, dude. All right, man. I'm moving down on your page now.
Yeah.
I see our boy Big Poppy, dude, and this is
there we go.
Yeah. So a big thing on that I want to dive into, dude, is I know a lot of kids are seeing these home run numbers just skyrocket, right? So now they kind of get in this predicament of, okay, now if I want to be great, if I want to make it to where my goal is, I need to hit for power, right? Like that's no secret. You're having the Jose Altuves, the Bregmans, these short little guys like hitting for power now, and these kids are probably thinking like, okay, I see a lot of power similarities from guys with leg kicks, blah blah blah. Now, again, I'm trying to word this into a question, but how do you kind of go about that teaching topic as far as like introducing power to an individual? Are you pro Big Poppy leg kick, momentum, force, like all that drive, or is it all individualized?
Yeah, definitely up to every guy and how they move. And not many young kids, especially when they're going through that weird, awkward puberty stage, 12, 13, 14, their body's growing at such a fast rate too, and their limbs may be growing a lot quicker than another part. So a lot of young guys, they want to have the leg kicks, but their body just can't control all that movements too. And we had at the pit, the rep for the K vest, the K motion come in, and we saw putting it on a player, a really high leg kick. All that's going to do is take us longer to unwiden sequentially our hips to open, then our torso, our shoulders, and then the barrel. So we can see a guy, hey, especially on hit tracks too, where they show where you're making contact in terms of the plate. If you have a really high leg kick and it's getting way too deep on you, you're going to be cutting the ball to right or hitting a lot of ground balls too. But for me, power, no matter how big you are, the Altuves, Bregmans, like you were talking about, it really just comes down to separation and getting to a good spot when that front heel plants. And, the fancy way of saying it is hip and shoulder disassociation, separating. I look at that back shoulder to my front hip. And when I get guys in that position, usually what they do is get to the launch position where their front heel lands after their load. And then I'll just hold their shoulders and hands back and have them really open their hips. And they should be feeling incredibly tight in the middle. And that's, to me, where the power is going to come from. The lower half's already opening. And like a slinky, we're working one way and twisting. And then when it's time to go, it's going to whip through after. And that's what everybody's looking for. You talk about bat lag and stuff like that. When you get a guy moving in sequence and feeling where they should be tight and feeling all of the torque and pressure, all that other stuff is really going to fall into place.
Dude, you're literally like I love the game of baseball because it's like almost a direct correlation to what a pitcher would do, right? It's the elasticity of like a rubber band. That's kind of what I teach with that front hip, that back shoulder is like, how can we create that separation? Like you're pulling this big stretching band. And then at that second of that torque, we're releasing that and it's snapping and it's all coming through our fingertip. Whereas like the hitters, it's coming through your hands. It's that same thing. And to piggyback off that, dude, it's like, I saw another post that you said about front leg bracing. Right. And it's the same with pitching, dude. We talk about, the C and how at ball release, you have that almost that extension of your front knee, like coming back. And those are like the high profile big arms. And why is that, dude? Cause I always like to correlate it to, like one of those Middle Eastern like cannon things, dude, where it's like a catapult, and it's catapulting like all that weight forward with that front brace to where it can fully maximize all that energy that's built up from the back and push forward. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's literally exactly what we're talking about when it comes to hitting as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that is when that front leg, and it's not always going to be totally locked out, but it's going to go from that flexion to being locked out almost there. And that's just the moment of impact. We're taking everything from that backside and putting it right into that ball at that moment. And then after we swing through, it's going to let out again. We're going to have more flexion in the knee, more bend in there too. But I mean, it's the same thing. We want all of our energy to be put into that moment we're hitting the ball. And especially with the K vest, we saw everything should be peaking almost at the same time. That moment people talk about, a snap, whatever it is, but we want everything going in, all that energy we stored up and created and then whip through. We don't want it to be lost where our hands are being disconnected, everything working in unison right to the ball. And I mean, I love Dr. Heenan, the stuff you guys do when you show that C, you can see like the body is maxing out right there for the one moment. That is really what we're working on, hitting the baseball or releasing the baseball.
Yeah. And it takes a lot to get there too. Dude, gosh, say what you want about Bryce Harper, man, but I'm like watching this swing over and over again and like the power that he exerts. Yep. I mean, how many guys do you see, and I think I was this way actually when I swung, was like that is overly drastic, lifting that back leg like that and going into essentially like a single leg brace at contact.
Yeah, and I mean, people, especially Twitter, Instagram, you're going to get people on there saying that one leg you're going to only hit with your back leg. I mean, that shows right there that the front leg is doing an incredible amount, and people are using force plates now to show the pressure going into the ground force. But yeah, I mean, he gets his backside through so much, and he's a really loose mover too. His hips, I mean, get all the way through, where some guys like a George Springer, you can look at his back foot really doesn't move at all, yet his hips still get through. So, and I mean, that's the awesome part about hitting. And I think a lot of people will say, well, see, you don't have to get your backside through all the way. His hip is still getting through. And a lot of people will talk about, you want your foot to move first because that's the ground up. But really, I can move my foot without moving my hip. That back hip is really that power source to get everything going.
Well, it's cool too because, like, I mean, just I'm looking at Harper's side angle and then almost the same view with Big Poppy, and both exit velos through the roof, and
Yep.
and like I said, Harper's coming up off that back foot, and Poppy's staying down, and it's like, okay,
Right.
well. Like what are we shooting for, right? And it goes back to that individualized approach. Like I think kids got to do a good job of surrounding themselves with someone that understands that, and then going into something deeper there, like being around someone that understands them on a deeper level too. I think that's very important to get around guys that not only know the game and know the biomechanics, but know the individual too. So you can help them out in that regard as well.
Real quick on that, because that's such a good point. And this is the kids on there, not only when you're choosing which pages to follow on social media, too, when you're choosing to have a swing instructor. Now, I totally get that some people don't have the means to have a swing instructor, but if you are, and this is for like the high school kids out there, because I wish I was doing this back when I was getting instruction too. Make sure it's not a coach who's doing the my way or the highway. Like if that's a guy who's telling you, I've been doing this for this many years and it's worked for this many people, like, listen, I've been doing this for 8 years. There's a lot of people who have not stayed with me too. Like, I totally get that, but I'm always trying to learn more and retain as many people as I can and help. But if there's ever a coach who's doing the my way or the highway or making promises to you, that's, to me, if I had a kid and was investing money, I wouldn't just like walk out of the door. I'd be running away as far as I could, because I mean, the kids have to learn that this is totally up to them too. If you're coming to me once a week, that's 1 hour a week. You have to be doing your movement work on your own. You got to be taking swings on your own if you actually want to be making the investment to being the best player you can too. So just a quick plug, because I mean, kids out there, make sure you're putting your resources, your time, your energy into the right things with the good people around you, because I mean, really, life's just a lot easier when you're working with good people who are understanding and forward thinking too.
Yeah, and it's a responsibility on the individual, and if the athlete is a little bit younger, because I was the same way, man. Like, I'm sure you were in that same boat where 14, 15, 16, whatever years old. I mean, shoot, I was 18 when I got drafted, and it was like everyone that talked to me that was wearing like a professional uniform, I thought was the guy. I thought that everything they said was liquid gold, and if I didn't frickin' listen to it, then I was doing a disservice for myself and my potential.
Right.
And I think that's a dangerous game that you could potentially play if you're an athlete, is listening to everyone, trying to please everyone, because we all get in that same boat, and sometimes we come out the other side having learned and having gained experience through it, but then sometimes we don't come out and we lose our identity as far as what makes us special in the first place. And
right.
and going back to what you said, like it's a responsibility on the athlete, especially in 2018 when we have all this data and we have things telling yourself, who you are at that moment, like to ask those questions, and don't be afraid to ask. Like, I think you said it earlier, don't be disrespectful, but it's a simple why. Why are we doing this drill? Why would this benefit me? How will this benefit me in the long run? Like, I think that alone is going to separate you from the talent pool around you too, is having an understanding for not only what you're doing, but what's being taught to you.
Right.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Sorry for the little tangent there.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad we went down there.
No, I mean, I just speak from so much experience, man, and it's such a true thing in this game, and it's no. It's not dogging anyone. It's not, everyone wants to be good, and everyone wants to seek out information. I didn't learn it until later in my career, man, that you can have that professional filter of, be respectful, listen to somebody, but don't have to necessarily apply it to every single thing that you do.
Right.
because shoot, man, like I said, I was 18, 19 years old, and there was a lot of information coming in my ears and sticking, and pretty much you get stuck in that quicksand of like, okay, how the heck do I throw a baseball again?
I know.
And I'm sure it's mechanics, so same thing for hitting too. It's like, okay, this guy's teaching my swing this way, and everyone's gonna have different approaches, right? Like, I mean, you take a group of the 20 best hitting coaches in the world, they're probably all going to have different terminology or different things that athletes can interpret one way, and not all of them is going to work for you.
Right, and we see that. I mean, like when Trout was talking to A-Rod too, and he's working on the team, and he's saying, I only think about staying on top of the ball and swinging down. That works for him. Who are any of us to say, Mike Trout, that's not what happens. Obviously, he doesn't swing down on the ball. We have his launch angles for the entire year on websites, everything online, but that works for him. And if his hitting coach comes over and says, no, don't think about that, you want to think about swinging up, that's not going to work for him too. So finding a coach who's going to connect to you and letting you be an athlete, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Usually the studs on the baseball team are going to be the studs on the football team, on the basketball team too. Letting athletes be athletes.
Love it, dude. I just made a post about that. I was about like just freaking being an athlete, and to really just wrap this whole show up. And I'll do my best of my ability to kind of tie a bow on this, but that's really what it comes down to, right? I mean, you and I could sit here for days and talk about the data, talk about the swing, the biomechanics of the movements, the separation of the hip, the shoulder, the timing, the back foot elevation, and we can talk about. We can literally dissect the swing or the throw, whatever you prefer, and literally from every like millisecond, we can talk about a different thing that's happening within the body. But at the same time, it boils down to just like, what is it, man? Like being athletic, right? Being that kid again, and not getting into your head, because again, we can get into that dangerous game of having all this information. And I know we didn't really talk about it, in the show, but with this data, the one thing that I do see in younger athletes is they get so obsessed with all this data, and then it gets stuck in their head, and then they're thinking about it. And I mean, shoot, I don't think it's a secret that you cannot think while you're at the dish and someone's throwing 100 miles an hour. So So I'll give you the floor, dude. Like, to tie a bow on this whole show is like, how can we absorb all the information that we're seeking out as far as like the mechanics of a swing or whatever, but at the same time, when it comes time to compete, when it comes time to freaking step in that box when the lights are on, like, how do we kind of just push that to the back of our mind and just rely on, literally athleticism?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to three things, especially with the high school hitters. You got to have fun, it's got to be competitive, and you got to have confidence. And in the cage, when we're working with hit tracks and stuff, we use that to have fun, to compete, and build confidence too. And at the end of every clinic or individual session, it's just time to rake. And usually in small group settings, we're going to put teams up. We're going to have the other teams yelling at them, jumping up and down in the side, making it as game-like as possible with velocity. And then it's going to be, you get 1 point for a single, 2 points for a double, 3 for a triple, 4 for a home run. Right there, we're making it game-like. I'm throwing it hard to them. I'm mixing in pitches. You have the crowd going wild next to you, your teammates rooting you on. So all these environmental constraints going on, and then they can see in the cage, not me saying like, "Ooh, you hit that hard, it would have been over the shortstop." They're seeing how hard it went, if it was a double, single. So I think we have the means of using the data to bring out all the fun, competition, and confidence too. It's just, if we're sitting there going, "Ooh, your shoulder, it was 16 degrees on this one. We want it at 18." Yeah, we're going to make robots here. Yeah. But using the data to make it, competitive and as game-like as possible is huge.
And I think that's where you get those kids like really locked in, and I'm out here working at a baseball facility as well, like, and I'm in on the hitting stuff, and shoot, man, like, I'm sure I was the same way. I don't remember, that, but the attention span of doing these monotonous drills and being like, okay, like I'm not getting the full benefit of the drill because I'm not locked in. But if you put them in an environment, like you say, another level comes out, and that's the level that we need to come out for them to really get the most out of them when the lights come on. And, to piggyback off kind of what you said about that competition, dude, it's like, I mean, when we were kids in Little League, like that's when freaking practice turned fun, when coach was throwing and it was like situational stuff, like guy on second, no outs, like do everything you can to get him over. We don't bunt here. Like, okay, now it's freaking go time. So I think, yeah, man, that's huge, is putting those kids in an environment to have fun, but to really like get to that next level and bring that inner beast really out of them, right?
Yes, getting the beast, man. That's a perfect way of saying it.
Love it, dude. Well, so before we hop off the air here, dude, I got a few things. What I like to do with everything we really talk about, I want my audience to find a way to get to like the website or to get to where they can potentially purchase it or whatever. So there's a few things I want to throw your way. I'll take care of like the hit tracks, the blast motion stuff. I know where I can link that into the show notes, but what is this K-Vest thing that you speak of? I've never heard of it.
Okay, I'm sure you've seen it, and it's going to be big time now. Most major league teams are getting on it. So it's K-Motion. And they started off in the golf space, like most things in the baseball world were taken from other sports. But it's called the K-Vest, and there's a sensor that goes right around your pelvis, and then one on your chest, your elbow, and then your hands. And pretty much is just showing if you're firing in the kinematic sequence from the ground up. And it gives you feedback right away of, nope, you're disconnected. It was top down. And it's just the total biomechanics. And when you combine it with hit tracks too, it's really the guesswork is taken out there too. So it's going to be something that's going to take over the baseball world, in my opinion, really, really soon.
Do you have like is it on Amazon? Do you have a website for it?
It's got it. I would just Google K-Motion and it's going to come right up.
All right. I'll throw that, for those of you listening, I'll throw that in the show notes, as well as every data metric that Ryan uses. I'll throw a link to that. And then you spoke on, do you know the website that it is that we could see, the data from the MLB? I think it's like, if it's
Baseball Savant.
It is Baseball Savant. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm sure it's probably the same as the pitching side. So I will link that as well into the show notes. And then Ryan, where can my audience find you on social media?
Yep. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff at Fuller Hitting. And I'm really excited. I've been working on a website for the past few months, and the website's going to be coming out right around Christmas time. And in unison with the website, I'm going to be having a free line drive handbook coming out too, so nobody has to pay for anything. You're going to get a few of my favorite drills, some movement work in there too, some of the things that I work on with most of my athletes, just to get guys moving in sequence, everything we talked about today, creating separation, totally free too, so continuing to add value. So that'll be fullerhitting.com, and just be on the lookout for it on social media for the announcement. But it's going to be pretty cool, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, dude. I know the stress that creating a website can bring. So I praise you for grinding through it, man.
Got to.
Yeah, man. So that's awesome, dude. I want to thank you for your time, man. That was an absolute blast. But thanks again, and I'll sign you off the air.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. That's another episode of the Robby Rowe Show. Do me a favor, if you liked the episode, or even if you didn't like it, go ahead and leave me a review on whatever platform you're listening to. Not only does it help me out with popularity on my show, but it also helps me out as a host of this podcast. Sometimes I don't know if I'm getting better, if I'm getting worse, and I need y'all's opinions. So go ahead and leave a review and let me know what you thought. So again, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, Robby Rowland, the Robby Rowe Show. Your boy's out. Later.